Welcome to the Conscious Marketer Podcast, the place for conscious entrepreneurs, teachers, healers, and authors who want to expand their reach and impact in the world. Join us and meet leading experts where we talk all things conscious marketing, launches, storytelling, and other strategies to help you serve more people. Find us at consciousmarketer.com. Welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to this first episode of the Conscious Marketer Podcast. We're so grateful to have you here. My name is Richard Taubinger. I'm the founder of a company called Conscious Marketer, and I'm also joined by my guest host, Kylie Slavik. Hi, Kylie, you there?
Hi, Richard.
And we've been wanting to do a podcast for several years, actually. And as part of Conscious Marketer, we have a lot of agency clients, and we just haven't gotten around to it, but we have been feeling the urge to share and to kind of extend our community of people. And so we're really excited about this podcast as a format, both to share, teachings and answer questions that people have coming to us, and also to bring to you some amazing people that we know that do marketing, do conscious business, that are in the field. And I thought where we could start was I could share a little bit about my story, and Kylie could share a little bit about her story, and we could just, so you know who we are and the I guess the stance that we take in the market about marketing, about business as a force for good in the world. I'll start quickly. I started Conscious Marketer probably in some form or the other about 15 years ago. So that's kind of like dinosaur age for digital marketing. And initially I didn't know that I was running an agency. It's kind of funny. I was just trying to help conscious companies and authors and therapists and teachers get their work online in an authentic way. And at some point, about 5 years in, somebody said, "Oh, you're running a marketing agency." And I said, "A marketing agency? What's that?" And they said, it's where you take clients and you build funnels for them. And I said, "Oh, I guess I am running a marketing agency." So that was pretty funny. And so I've been in this world about 15 years. We kind of focus on the transformational market. What I mean by that is people who are in personal development, therapy, healing, meditation. And through the years, we've become known as like kind of one of the go-to agencies to go to, both for training and for kind of more personalized help to present somebody's message in with the same consciousness as what they're teaching. So trying to get away from some of the, what I would say is more traditional marketing methods or the negative polarity of marketing. So that's kind of my background. We've gotten pretty large. I think last year we had 37 launches that did about 22 million. We're on track to beat that this year in sales. So that's pretty exciting. And we do summits and membership sites and signature programs, high-end value. And really what is more exciting is just the reach that our agency has had. I know last year we added up all the number of programs, and I think we sold, like 45,000 programs. And so my feeling is every one of those programs has the ability to change consciousness, to help people, to make the world a better place. And I would say about 3.5 years ago, Kylie and I started working, and we kind of partnered on a bunch of stuff and realized we had some magic when we worked together, both on strategy and copy and helping people. Kylie, do you want to share a little bit about your background and how you came to be a conscious marketer?
Absolutely. I would love to. So I often refer to myself as a accidental digital marketer because it was never my intention to get involved with marketing. I was one of those people who got an English degree, and everybody would ask me, "What are you going to do with that?" And made fun of me a little bit and everything like that. And one of the things I did with my love for writing and my passion for words and my just commitment to changing people's consciousness through the art of the written and spoken word was I started a slam poetry venue called Third Eye Spoken in Gainesville, Florida in 2005. And we were a bunch of rebel artists who wanted to change the world. And we would gather every couple of Friday nights and have 200 people. And I would write and memorize and perform these stories for people. And I could see, I got this immediate feedback, whether or not they were following me or not. And it's pretty awful when you're standing on stage in front of 100 or 200 people and they're staring at you like, why are you saying what you're saying right now? So I got really good at mastering the art of attention doing that. What I did not know at that time was mastering the art of attention through the form of storytelling was a digital marketing super skill. And so, eventually I got tired of being poor. I was that broke artist archetype. And one day, in my mid-20s, I got tired of it. So I applied for a job, and I applied for a job as a content manager. I didn't really know what I was doing and I wasn't really qualified, but I jumped through some major hoops and ended up getting this job for a guy named Max Simon. Max was the son of the silent partner of the Chopra Center, and he introduced me to people like Mark Victor Hansen and Ariel Ford and just really big players in this space. And one of his partners one day asked me to write a Facebook ad, and I had no idea how to write a Facebook ad. I really just didn't know what I was doing. But what I did know was the poetry formula. So I taught myself how to write ads in 2 days. And we ended up having $575 ad spend that turned into almost 70 grand in 3 days. And that was the beginning of my digital marketing career. I became an overnight expert, except for I knew that I wasn't. So I had to kind of like fill my own shoes. And I did that by hiring Hollywood story studio consultants and studying with neuroscientists and really understanding, why does story create movements? Why do people click on stories? Why do people buy stories? And I've been a student of that ever since. So, I agree with Richard when he says that we came together in a magical way. And just to add to that story, we share a common friend, mentor, family member, a Maori elder who we both love very dearly. And one day she wrote to me, and Richard and I had already worked on a project together. She wrote to me and said, "Hey, Kylie, I'm so glad you and Richard have been brought together to help the people." And I had no idea what she was talking about, but I told Richard, and then all of a sudden we're here today with you. So it's been a super fun ride. And I think what we're the most excited about is, we've been behind the scenes for a very long time. We have a lot of strategies that work in the consciousness space. And we're really ready to help 100,000 people this year. And my goal would be 1 million people next year, but we'll see how that goes. So Richard, you did a super powerful presentation in our Facebook group, The Marketer's Path, a couple of weeks ago that, there's hundreds of comments on the 7 myths of marketing. I would love to hear from you on that first myth to kind of help our audience break through that if they happen to have it.
Yeah, I'd love to, Kylie. And the marketing myths, I came upon these because we were working with a lot of the, these really powerful creators. And then in some of our larger programs, we would see people hit barriers, and these myths kind of came up over and over again. And through the years, we've kind of identified some of the major ones. And what's interesting is if you have one or more of these myths that live inside you, it's kind of like a negative belief system or something that actually prevents you from being successful. And this first myth is so important because if you have this first myth, then it literally influences how you show up in the market and how you actually do your marketing. And if you hold this myth, it will basically limit everything you try to do in the market. So it's really important if you have even a little bit of this one that you work with it inside yourself. And so the first myth is that marketing is meant to manipulate, or marketing is manipulation. And in the current market where we are oversold and constantly marketed, I think you have a number of how many times we're marketed every day.
5,000 to 10,000 marketing messages a day is what the average person sees.
Right. And it used to be, like in the commercial break of our TV, in the old days. And now it's our email and our text, and as we walk down the street on podcasts. And so it kind of like we're marketed everywhere now. And so what happens is we start to distrust all marketing. What's interesting is if you carry this marketing as manipulation, then what will come up for you normally if you go on to do a promotion or to work with a marketing agency is you'll have this internal resistance that comes up, and you'll basically say, look, I don't want to do marketing, or the product should just sell itself. And it creates a negative overlay into all marketing. But there's another version of that: marketing actually can be of service. Marketing can actually add value. And when you shift the myth of marketing as manipulation into marketing is value, or marketing can actually be of service of some kind, and this is a radical, it kind of turns you inside out. And then you can kind of figure out, well, if my marketing actually was part of the product, if my marketing actually added value to the customer before they even bought, what would it look like? And what I can say is all of the launches that we are involved in, this is the approach we take. And it's so important that we find ways to provide value to customers in advance. So Kylie, do you have some thoughts on this one? I know this is something we talk about a lot because we're always trying to figure out, well, how do we serve the customer even before they buy? How do we get them, some transformation even before they decide that they want to work or buy the product or service?
I have a lot of thoughts about this. One is last week I was watching a conference called AdWorld, and there was a guy who's an expert with Facebook video ad creation. He had some really beautiful advertisements that I really respected. And one of the things that he said was, so many ads make us feel bad about ourselves. What could happen if we created ad content that made people feel good about themselves? And so that is one way to be of service and add value, like you're talking about, is what if your marketing made people feel better? And in that way, in that specific way that you're making them feel better, why not have the ad do that? So the way that you make them feel better can also tie in to the actual product or service. So, we work with a lot of therapists, psychotherapists, psychologists, and that type of profession. And their first line of duty is to make people feel safe. And they cannot do their work if the client doesn't feel safe. And so what about marketing that actually creates a sense of safety? And this is actually something we talk about a lot, is how to make people feel safe in your marketing. What if your product or service is about inspiration? One could argue that Nike is about inspiration, and that's why they're $1 billion brand. So they create these commercials that inspire people to do what? To get up and go on a run, to get up and play basketball. I'll be sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden I'm like, I have to go on a run right now, And so they're really good at helping their customer feel before they buy, like you said. And I think there's a lot of approaches to this, but I know when we do our marketing and our selling, we're always thinking about how does this particular client or customer of ours make people feel when they're doing their spiritual teaching or their psychiatry or whatever it is that they're doing, and how can we make sure that our ads really represent that?
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. And this first myth too is it's well founded, because some marketing is manipulation, and some of the traditional things that people would try to do would be manipulation. And so the nice thing is, if you do your marketing differently, then you stand out. And I think you brought a great point up, is marketing can be inspirational. And so we don't always, sometimes we think of the pair of shoes, but even the inspiration to go out and get fit and to run is of service to people, or to show somebody that it's possible. Sometimes when we look at these myths, what we'll look at is, well, what are our clients saying to us that let me know that they have this, this negative thought form inside them? And some of the phrases that I've heard before around this is, I've heard people say to me, well, the purpose of marketing is to manipulate people to get them to buy things they don't need, Or I've heard some people say, well, marketing, I'm a teacher, I'm not a marketer, so marketing's below me, I don't want to market. I've heard people say, look, I don't want to do any marketing because I'd rather actually do nothing than market. But the problem is then you don't get your work out into the world. And so maybe we could talk about some of the ways that, I guess, I could give you 5 questions to ask in terms of to shift this so that you could be providing more value to your customers. So here are the 5 questions. Are you ready? How can marketing add value and create a transformation even before the sale? So this could be a challenge. It could be a free opt-in. It could be a mini training. It's a really good question to ask. The second question would be, how can my marketing start to solve their problem? So it's kind of a spinoff of the first one, but even in the Nike example, part of the problem there is they don't have the inspiration, or they don't even think it's possible that they could create the transformation. So by showing them people creating the transformation, they have this. Third one, how can marketing help them see the blocks or obstacles that they may not even know exist? So this podcast is actually an example of that, because we're helping you to see an obstacle that you may not even know you have, that you have these kind of negative belief systems inside yourself about marketing that's actually preventing you from showing up authentically online. Number 4, how could you give them maybe a framework or a map or a model that they might be able to use, so at least they know the territory to move forward? And then the last one is what we've been talking about here, is how can marketing actually show what's possible to motivate them? And there's so many ways that this can be done. One could be case study. Kylie, you're a master storyteller. How does story kind of relate to this myth, when marketing does provide value?
Yeah, in terms of how to use story to create value, is that what you mean?
Yeah, or like sharing or shifting people toward action or to see what's possible.
Well, it definitely does do all of that. That's for sure. And I think that one way to really look at this is that most of us have a point we're trying to make, and we're trying to teach something. And that's inside the program or the service or the product that we're selling, right? There's a takeaway.
Right.
And if we just go into the market and try to tell people, you can run faster, or you can sell better, or you can sell without manipulation, what tends to happen from a neurological perspective is that when somebody is told something, they shut down. Nobody likes to be told anything, right? And especially by someone you don't even know. So on your news feed, right? You're scrolling down your news feed and you want to look at your friend's baby and puppy photos, and all of a sudden someone's telling you something that you aren't even sure you believe. It's not going to work. However, we are 100% hardwired to learn through a story. And rather than story creating adrenaline and cortisol, which is what being told does, which is also what manipulative fear-based marketing does. It creates adrenaline and cortisol. Stories create oxytocin and dopamine, which make us want to lean in and feel connected. So if I want you to understand that conscious marketing is the solution to your problem, then I better not just say, hey, you should take our course because we're going to help you with X, Y, and Z, which is a lot of times what traditional marketing might tell you to do, is just speak to the outcomes alone.
Right.
But with a story, you're actually empowering them to see themselves in it and to lean in with feel-good brain chemicals that make them want to do better, make them want to rise to the occasion. They want to step up. They get excited. And so you also mentioned case studies, which I think is really cool, because it's one thing for Richard and I to say, hey, we've been using conscious marketing for all this time and it's worked really great for us. But it's even better when we can come in and say, this person that was just like you, who was so skeptical, who had spent so much money on marketing that didn't work, came in. They had these challenges when they came in. Here's the specific things we shared with them that helped them overcome those challenges. And here's where they are today. Then people also really, really lean into that. And again, when your brain produces those feel-good chemicals, it comes back to the original question is about motivation. Dopamine is the motivator. So, that's what we need in order to get anything done. And so stories really serve so many different purposes, but that's a big one.
Yeah. And I think that through story, you can do a lot of these things and add value through case studies, testimonials, inspiration. And if you think of all the great spiritual teachers of all time, they all taught through parable and story as well, and we normally don't think of our spiritual teachers as marketers, but they created these massive movements that people followed and shared and continue to this day. So,
yeah, Jesus is arguably the most popular human, of all times. arguably, but still, he's definitely up there.
Right. So this is just the first myth. This is the manipulation myth. We have 7 other myths, 8 total. And there might even be a few more hanging out in there. If you want to view the full presentation, we have a presentation in the Facebook group. We actually have 2. One is called the 7 myths, and then we realized we needed to add a myth, so we actually have a 8th myth. You can go into our private Facebook group, which is the Marketer's Path, and you can request access into that group. And you'll find, I think it's a little over an hour of presentations in, you can click the tab that says guide, or you can do a search for myths, and you can get that content there. We'll also be sharing a few more of these myths in future podcast episodes. But the place to be in connection with us on social media is our Facebook group called The Marketer's Path. And Kylie and I are in there sharing, answering questions, and talking about things like this that can help your marketing. So we're really happy that you're joining us on this podcast. Our intention is to have every episode give value and to be of service to you so that you can have a bigger impact in the world, reach more people, craft your offers in ways that makes you feel good and makes you feel authentic. And so you actually like to do the marketing. It's something you look forward to do rather than something that you have to do. Kylie, any other kind of closing comments for everybody listening today?
Yeah, hopefully you got some value out of really looking at your own internal reframer on this. I think we all have it, even we get it sometimes. So we can all grow in this area. And we look forward to seeing you in the Marketer's Path Facebook group and on episode number 2 as it gets released.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us here. Take care.